Alex, in your book, Fossil Future, you confront what I think is a really important question for getting the right outcomes in the energy space. Why does our knowledge system support the elimination of fossil fuels and other forms, let's be frank about it, of cost-effective energy, while ignoring their massive life or death benefits to billions of people around the world without offering any comparable substitute?
I think it again comes down to the adoption of an anti-human environmental philosophy. So let's just think very quickly about what it looks like to look at fossil fuels and their CO2 emissions from a pro-human environmental philosophy. You take CO2, so we're putting more CO2 in the atmosphere. It has a warming impact that has other climate impacts. So first, you don't assume that's just negative. You look at negative and positive. You do that with precision. Notice that we don't do that as a society. We just assume all warming is bad, even though far more people die of cold than of heat. And we assume all CO2 is bad, even though we learn in biology that CO2 is plant food. So we need to look at both positive and negatives with CO2.
Okay.
But then overwhelmingly, we also need to look at what are the, to your question, what are the benefits that come with the CO2? And one of the huge things, and Mike referenced this in his presentation, is we have drastic decline in climate deaths, because one of the benefits we get from fossil fuels is the ability to master climate, to neutralize climate danger, like irrigate, which has helped us eliminate most drought deaths, heating and cooling, sturdy buildings, storm warning systems, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the core reason we don't do this is because we're not thinking about it in a pro-human way. And so we just expect, because we have an anti-human philosophy, that CO2 will lead to catastrophe. But that's just a religious assumption. It doesn't make any sense. And we're taught, because we're obsessed with eliminating our impact and not human flourishing, we ignore the huge human flourishing benefits of fossil fuels and the need for billions of people to have more of them. We have 3 billion people who use less electricity than a typical American refrigerator. The New York Times doesn't care about that, but they care a lot about whether a polar bear has to move from one piece of ice to another.
And there's a fair moral question to be asked about the decision that keeps a person who survives on less energy than a refrigerator in a position where they're not able to access more.
Yeah, and their ultimate argument for flying private jets is, well, if I fly private jets, it'll keep enough people in poverty to offset the CO2 of my private jet. That's their real argument.